All right, so I hope everybody's doing well today. Hello, Tiffany. How are you? Good to see you. Do me a favor, guys. If you have a question, if you are in the Black Business School, I can see your question and I'll answer your questions first. And just put your question in the Q&A section, and that way we can have a good conversation. And I will answer every single question by every single person, every question that's asked tonight. One other thing I want to do is remind you guys, if you happen to want to fly to New York, we're doing a live all day long investment seminar in New York, a financial Juneteenth wealth building seminar. It's going to be in New York City on October 27th, I believe. I think that's the date, that weekend, the weekend of October 27th. And so if you want to learn more about that, you can go to drboycenewyork.com. What I want to do is let the students know real quick also that we are meeting right now. So give me a second here. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so here's what I want to start the conversation with today. I would like to begin the discussion with something that I discussed with someone today that I think is relevant to all of you guys that are in here. It has to do with where to get the funding for your business. I know a lot of you are thinking about starting things like nonprofits and stuff like that. And I think nonprofits are awesome. I'm going to have a nonprofit at some point in the near future, along with, and I'm, in fact, this week I'm looking to buy some rental property and stuff like that. So I think diversification is important. I think having all kinds of investments is a good move for you. But one thing that I told this person I was speaking with is that they should be extremely careful about depending on government grants to get their idea off the ground. One of the things that she wanted to do was, she said, I have an idea for a nonprofit and I want to do XYZ for the community. So this is a person that wants to really help the Black community, which I think is awesome. I think that the interesting part of that is that, one, the community does need the help, but the issue that we have is that the methods for helping the community are not scalable and sustainable in many ways. So you gotta have these really interesting one-off models where someone has a good heart and they say, I want to do this for Black boys, or whatever the case may be. And so the first thing that people think about is they fall for the false notion that in order to help the Black community, whatever you do has to be totally free, right? It has to be totally free. That's flawed for a couple of reasons. One reason it's flawed is that, it'd be one thing if the Black community had $0, if the Black community had no money at all, but that's not true, right? We know the Black community has $1.3 trillion that we invest in white businesses, right? So, I think that there's something to be said about diverting Black dollars into Black businesses, where Black people say consciously, hey, instead of spending my money over at Popeye's Chicken, I'm going to spend my money with this particular service that's going to actually benefit my life, as opposed to give me like heart disease and diabetes or whatever. And so that's the first thing. I don't think all the models have to be free. They shouldn't be free. But people will pay whatever you charge in a lot of cases, right? So if you tell everybody in the community, I've got this free service because I don't want to give the appearance that I'm trying to scam anybody. I want everything to be totally free. Well, then what's going to happen is people are going to take your free service. You're giving it up for free. They're going to take it for free. And then what will happen is you'll end up feeling kind of silly because those very same people who came to your place for this free service will walk up in your establishment wearing a Gucci belt that they paid $150 for, or they'll walk up in your service wearing some Air Jordans, or they'll be over there. Somebody will build a Popeye's Chicken right next door to your business, and they'll be lined up to get chicken right after they finish getting your free service. Where did I learn this? I learned this in terms of negotiating with my potential client base. I learned this from an organization that I spoke for free back in 2005-ish. And I remember this organization said, Dr. Boyce, we'd like for you to come speak. We don't have much of a budget. We'd like for you to do it for free. Could you please do that? So I'm thinking, okay, I really want to help the Black community. Sure, I'll do this for free. So at that time, I wasn't making any money. So I took my paycheck that I was getting from Syracuse, and I bought my own plane ticket, my own hotel, my own transportation, my own food, my own everything. Showed up, gave a great speech, spoke to 200, 300, 400 people, and everything went great. So I'm sitting there afterward, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm talking to one of the organizers, right? And I'm sitting here, kind of disappointed though, because even though, I came to speak for free, nobody bought any of my books or anything. Like it was kind of sad. I was like, damn, like I lost a lot of money. And do you know what this guy said to me? Check this out. He says, oh, Doc, let me tell you this. He said, you won't believe it. Can you believe that we got Michael Eric Dyson to come speak at our banquet for only $10,000? Literally, he literally said that. And I was like, what? Really? So you gonna pay Mike 10 grand and you're not gonna pay me nothing? Like I got to come for free and he's getting extra money to whatever. Now here's the thing, I could get mad at Dyson, right? But he ain't the one to get mad at. He asked for his value. I can get mad at them, but they're not at fault. They took what I offered them, right? What I had to do was reassess myself and realize that the pricing mechanism for your business, how your revenue generation model has to be one that is calibrated based upon forming the right relationship with your client base. You have to form the right relationship. So the relationship isn't one, like I hear people that say, never cut your prices, never give discounts. I don't believe that either. I don't believe that. I believe some people ain't got it because they really ain't got it, right? Some people really ain't got it. And so I think that a balance is important. And the reason that balance is important is because you have to have revenue generation models for your business or your organization that go beyond just like, I'm going to do everything for free and hope that the government pays the bill. Let's just be clear. And again, I want you to just know the bias you're getting from me as your financial teacher. My bias is I don't trust the government. I don't trust corporations that much. And I don't trust white people that much. Doesn't mean I hate any of them. I don't hate white people. I just don't trust them. There's 500 years of history that tells me that trusting them is what got us to this position in the first place. Doesn't mean I hate anybody. It just means I don't trust them to fund Black liberation. I just don't. If they came up and said, we're going to write a check for Black liberation for $1 trillion, and we want you to take that check, I'd say, no, thank you. I don't want that check. Malcolm X actually, in his speech, I've been telling you guys this week to go watch his speech on the House Negro and the Field Negro. In that speech, he talks about how liberal allies of the Black community gathered up A. Philip Randolph and Martin Luther King and a lot of the civil rights leaders and said, we want to help you by making sure that you never run out of money, and we're going to help you by using our media outlets to position you as the leaders of movements that you have nothing to do with, so that we can help you by controlling, making sure the movement goes in the direction that we need it to go, right? So what you got to really understand is that freedom really ain't free. And so ultimately, when you're thinking about building that business or that little nonprofit or whatever, sure, you absolutely positively should have free things available for those who can't afford it, who can't do anything. But at the same time, there's something to be said about helping people have their dignity by knowing that they are funding their own liberation. The government ain't going to give you that liberation. Also, here's the other thing too. I told my friend, I said, most of the people I know that try to get government grants, they don't get the grants. They just don't. Most of my friends who apply for the grants, they apply, and they never get anything. And the ones who do get the grants, they're always in danger of extinction. They're always in danger of extinction. Why? Well, because that stuff has to be renewed. And if they decide they don't want to renew you, they can cancel you like that. Like the Avengers movie where Thanos, the villain, he snaps his fingers and things just disappear. They could disappear you with the snap of a finger because you took money from the wrong person. One of the most important things to understand about money is that money is power. Never, ever assume that the transfer of money is not the transfer of power. When you take money, you're giving something away. There's always a trade happening somewhere. And if you can't see the trade, that means it's happening below the scenes. It's happening in the future. It's happening in a way that you can't see, but there's always a trade. No such thing as a free lunch. That's the term we use in economics. And so these, these organizations that do get the funding, I feel sorry for them, because I'm sitting there thinking, if they reject your grant next year, you're gone. Or let's say that you go out and you try to get a bank loan. First of all, most Black businesses I know that go apply for bank loans, they don't get the loans. The Silicon Valley, they got these little businesses that get tens of millions of dollars, and Black people try to become like them. We try to get that money and we don't get it, right? But then when you do get it, okay, well, if you're surviving solely on financing from the bank, guess what? The bank can use any technicality to decide that they want to call your loan in. If they call your loan in, you are gone. You are done. You have no business anymore. The third, let's say you're living off corporate sponsorships. Oh, we got IBM. We like to thank IBM and Apple and Walmart for sponsoring Black Liberation. Black Liberation brought to you by McDonald's, right? First of all, that ain't gonna be no Black Liberation. They're gonna control everything you say. They're gonna have you on pins and needles. You get out of line. You invite Boyce Watkins to speak at your conference. I tell people when they invite me to speak at their little events, I really tell them, I say, are you sure you want me? Do you want the real Boyce, or do you need like a fake watered down version of Boyce? But even the fake watered down version of me is probably going to scare your sponsor. So are you really sure you want white people to know that you hang out with a Black man who is no nonsense in my solutions for the Black community? And the reason I say that is because corporations are extremely conservative. They are not going to sponsor radical, truly transformative Black initiatives. They're just not. They'll sponsor something like a Get Out the Vote campaign, which is fine. You're putting Democrats in power so they can continue to give you more of what you've already gotten. If you're happy with that, then that's fine, right? Then fine, go for that. But if that doesn't work for you, if you're where I am, if you're a little bit concerned about the fact that Black wealth has actually dropped in this generation, the wealth gaps have actually increased. Black boys and Black girls are less and less educated every single year. Black neighborhoods are more and more destroyed every single year. You go to different parts of cities and they're complete war zones. Black unemployment on the south side of Chicago is of almost 50% for young Black males on the south side. In fact, I'm joining the board of a domestic violence shelter in the south side of Chicago in a neighborhood called Inglewood. Inglewood is just one of the most gangster neighborhoods ever. Wonderful people, but they got some real, like, straight up stereotypical difficult problems, real tough, the Black problems, like 14-year-old kids getting gunned down, stuff like that. So anyway, the person who's running this this center that I'm going to join the board for, she told me she's doing a study that to correlate the rise in domestic violence in Black community in Inglewood with the high unemployment rate of young Black males. And I said, absolutely. Why, of course there's a connection between the two. And the problem is that your politicians are never going to come up with an accurate solution. It's going to take people that actually understand the problem and have the will to actually solve the problem, even if it means being a little bit politically incorrect in the process, and can somehow conjure up the resources to make it happen. So where Black wealth is going to have to come from is it's going to have to come from non-traditional pathways. It's not going to come from government grants. It's not going to come from big bank loans. It's not going to come from Silicon Valley or corporate sponsorships. I think it's going to come from things like entrepreneurship designed. If you're lucky enough to figure out a way to start a business where you're soaking up white dollars and pulling them into the Black community, that's great. Good for you. But another pathway for generating the wealth we need is this. If we can simply redirect lost Black dollars back into the Black community, then that's a win for Black people. If you take that 1.3 trillion, and let's assume that we're giving 1.2 trillion of that 1.3 trillion away to white folks, right? Like that's probably pretty accurate. So out of 1.3 trillion that we get, about 1.2 trillion is being paid to white people for false reparations. We're paying them reparations. That's why we have no reparations, because we're paying them 1.2 trillion every year in reparations. Imagine if we could get back just 10% of that 1.2 trillion. Imagine if we had $120 billion a year flowing back into the Black community, because we've got consumers that want to buy Black, entrepreneurs that want to build Black. So you're producing products for either for white people that if you want, or you can produce them for Black people to simply redirect Black dollars. Instead of $1 billion going to Popeye's Chicken and all these fast food restaurants, that billion is coming back to the Black community. Instead of the billions of dollars that go out to Gucci and Louis and all these fashion industry companies, instead they're coming back into Black-owned fashion labels, right? Like knowing that it's Black-owned is really important, right? If we could get 10% of that, 120 billion would create thousands of jobs. It would create tons of opportunity. It would create hundreds of millionaires every single year, maybe thousands, and it would create a few black billionaires. Literally, there are people we can turn into billionaires just by supporting what they do. Hollywood, all the money the black people spend in Hollywood, I bet you black people give probably 10 to 20 billion dollars a year to Hollywood alone. Imagine if 5 billion of that was coming back into black owned films and black movies that black people are producing, right? Or education. A lot of y'all are in student loan debt because you gave $250,000 or $200,000 to a white university to educate you. Why not consider places like the Black Business School where we can educate you better for a fraction of the cost, right? So you save a lot of money, you're not in debt, your education's better, and we then have a budget of $10-20 million a year that we can use to go out and change the world. I'm not telling you to change anything. I'm not telling you to do anything different. I'm just telling you what the vision is and how this can actually work well for everybody. So really, this should be the master plan, part of the master plan for the 21st century for black people and black families, redirecting black dollars and stop allowing those black dollars to turn into white dollars. If you take 120 billion of black dollars and bring them back into the black community, not only do you have the 120 million, but if you have a circulation process, let's say that that black entrepreneur spends with another black entrepreneur who spends with another black supplier, right? Then that dollar, that $1 becomes $3. So instead of 120 billion dollars in additional black wealth, you're talking about several $100 billion in additional black wealth, because dollars don't disappear just because you spent them. They just begin to multiply in other people's communities, and they become far more than what they originally were. So my point is to say that at the end of the day, creative models I think are necessary. To go back to the specific point, when you're talking about starting your first little business or your first little, center or whatever, don't you dare think that you're supposed to do everything for free. Black people are not disabled. Black people are not in dire extreme poverty. If we were a nation, we'd be the 15th richest country on earth. But what you can maybe do is have a situation like, I'll use the Black Business School as an example. A large percentage of our students, you can get started for free. If you haven't, talked to one of our enrollment specialists, like I see Chanel is in here. Chanel Steele, one of our great enrollment specialists, is right here. If you go to theblackbusinessschool.com right now, you can talk to Chanel or Jessica Parker and some of the other enrollment specialists that we have in place that can talk to you, and they don't charge you anything to talk to you and to get you at least started on a free membership, right? So you can actually get started for free. So we have things for free, but then what happens is we have a ladder. We have different things you can get if you want to invest a little bit. Like if you really believe in the vision and you say, hey, this is what I've been looking for, you guys are doing a great job for me, I want to go further with you, then fine, we can take you to this level and give you a little bit more, take you to that level and give you more, right? And the whole time, what we do is we back that up with a guarantee. The guarantee is, and this is not something you get from universities, the guarantee that we have is, if you're not happy, just tell us and we'll give you your money back. Like, just all you have to do is email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. We'll give you a refund and say, sorry, we, our bad. Oh, can we make it right? Can we give you something else for free? Can we have a do-over? What can we do better, right? And that's how you form a good relationship with your clientele. So when you start your little business or whatever it is you're trying to do, first of all, don't give up on your dream, go for it. But I told this lady who was starting this center, I said, what I would do if I were you is I would have a mastermind of people that you talk to on a regular basis, and all you do is sit around and figure out what service can we offer to our existing base that we can monetize in an ethical way. Right? Can we sell them cookies when they come through the door? Can we sell them t-shirts? Do they need tutoring services? Do they want to rent the space to, for birthday parties? Like what can we do to generate that extra revenue? Because you do not want your business to be dependent upon government grants. You don't want it to be dependent on bank loans. You don't want it to be dependent on corporate sponsorships. I'm telling you, that's going to put you into a cage that you don't want to be in. So let's see here. Chanel says, I am also here to help you save on enrollment. Yes, so feel free to talk to Chanel. Go to theblackbusinessschool.com if you haven't done that yet. Some of you are enrolled in stuff. Some of you are still thinking about what you'd like to do. If you love something here, if you've done something here and you love it, please say it out loud so other other people can know how great we are. I see someone's mentioning, I love the Black Wealth Bootcamp. Yeah, that's one of the projects that we're going to launch that. We're going to pick that back up sometime next year. We shut it down for a little while, but we're going to consider opening that again next year. Black Millionaires of Tomorrow has been wonderful for my daughter, says Tiffany. Good. If you have a child, that's another part of our master plan. Like literally, we're smarter than the rest of the world. Like we really are. Black people are smarter than everyone, and I believe that I'm smarter than most people that I run into when it comes to finance. So some of the things that we present to you are literally designed to be revolutionary ideas that are proven to change the game. So one of the revolutionary ideas that we have in the Black Business School that you're not going to really see anywhere else is we believe in creating a business school for children. That's what we put together, blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. And what happens is your child gets trained on finances at a college level at the age of 7, 8, 9, or 10. And then what happens is when they're done, they can print out a certificate of achievement. They can put on their wall like their first college degree. So the reason that they're going to be ahead of the curve is because I didn't meet my first Black college professor till I was 19 years old. That was the first time I ever saw a Black man who was a professor, right? And whereas your child will be 10, 15 years ahead of me, right? So they're gonna experience all this when they're young. So what happens is that when they get this degree and they put it on their wall and they have this pride and they see themselves as a wealth builder, they're going to start changing how they see things. They're going to change how they view money. They're not going to see things like the other kids. You know, there was one lady, and I hear these stories all the time, but there was one mom who told me one Christmas, I told all the parents, I said, look, when you buy all your children, toys and all that, don't just buy them toys, buy them stock in the companies that make the toys. So they'll explain to them what that means. And so she heard her 8-year-old son on the playground, and all her son's friends were talking about, yeah, I got a PlayStation, I got a pair of Jordans, I got this, I got that. And he said, well, you got a Nintendo video game, but I got stock in the company. So when they make money, I make money. Right. And so he's internalizing that. That's not a kid who's going to be a worker. That's a kid who's going to be a boss. So you have to do these things when the kids are early, because if you don't, what's going to happen is somebody's going to come along and say, oh boy, you're pretty tall, you'd be a great basketball player. So he's going to start seeing himself as an athlete or something else, maybe a thug, maybe the class clown or whatever. And those things are fine, but that's not really what's going to get him where he wants to get to, because that's going to feed into the problem we have later in life, where 15 years down the line, we have a shortage of Black men who are adequate husbands and fathers. We have a shortage of Black men who can provide for a family. We have a shortage of Black men who know how to survive economically. So what I'm really trying to tell you is that the way we can win the game in the year 2040 is we must plan for that in the year 2020. So let's make the plan now. Educate your kids different. Don't do what everybody else is doing, or you're going to get what everybody else is getting. You must get them off the grid. You must put them on a different path. You must teach them the things that actually matter instead of teaching them the things that sound repetitive and redundant and that everybody's telling them over and over again. Because this system is not designed for Black people to be free. It is designed for Black people to be incarcerated. Even if you ain't in jail, you're incarcerated. A lot of y'all feel trapped right now, but you ain't spent a second in jail. Well, that's because the system's designed to commodify you and use you to fuel, like you fuel economics, but you're not the one who actually benefits from that fuel. I was talking to my daughter just now, and we were talking about, she does stuff as a loan officer and she's getting into real estate and all that. And I was explaining to her, reiterating, because economics is kind of our gospel. So I was kind of explaining to her, I said, yeah, well, the way capitalism kind of works is that the investors get all the money, but the workers do all the work. So the investors get paid from the work that the workers do. So you don't want to spend your whole life as a worker. You want to be an investor. And so I explained to her how I have businesses that I invest in where I don't do any of the work. I don't even know how to do it. I just know what I know how to spot people that know how to do it, and I invest in them, right? So I was explaining to her that the movement of capital and capital-based participation is a great way to position yourself to actually win from the economic system. Doesn't mean you exploit anybody, doesn't mean you hurt anybody. It just means that you position yourself in a place that you want to be instead of always feeling like you're being kicked around, okay? So feel free to do that. Just a reminder to you guys, in case you don't know, and I'm gonna start answering some of your questions here before we jump into the lecture. But just a reminder, don't forget, we have the All Black National Convention coming up. If this is your thing, if you're into this and you're super Black, like a lot of us are, come to the All Black National Convention. That's the weekend of September 27th. It's allblacknationalconvention.com. It's going to be in Houston. It's 3 days long. You're going to love it. It'll be great. I guarantee it. Also, I'll be in Louisville on the 14th. So you can go to drboycelouisville.com if you want to learn more about that. And also, I'm going to do a day-long investing seminar in New York City. It's going to be live. I'll be right there in your face, talking to you all day. Also, the best part is that you're in a room with people who are like we are right now, like literally serious people who put money into their projects, people who make moves, who do what they say they're going to do. That was one thing I was talking to somebody about today, actually, is how, I don't know if you guys go through this, but I get tired of Negroes who just talk. Anybody know? I don't know. It just drives me crazy. And honestly, it ends up being more brothers than sisters. I'm not saying the women don't have their weaknesses. We all do. But in that there aren't women who talk a good game and don't follow through. I've seen that as well. But it's just like I can't stand people that do a lot of fast talking and don't follow through on nothing. I hate that. It drives me crazy. If you're talking, like, do something. Show me that you're going to follow through on what you say you're going to do. Anybody can come up with a good idea. Anybody can get inspired for 10 minutes and say, hallelujah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, what are you actually going to do? So the seminars are really good for people that are doers, right? Because you got to be a doer to be in the room. A doer because it's not free. You have to pay a fee to come in there. It's not much, but you got to pay that fee. And then two, you actually have to show up. So some people fly in from across the country, stuff like that. These tend to be people who operate here. They play above the rim. And these are the people you want to be surrounded by. So when we did our last seminar in London, and all these people from Black London came in. I'm talking about brothers dressed sharp, jackets on, like look like they just came away from a corporate job. The women, the beautiful Black women, the very intelligent women coming in, and they just were serious, like they were really ready. And some of them were bankers and lawyers and real estate agents and doctors and everything else. And what happened is that they actually formed an investment group, BLAC, BLAAC, which stands for the Black London Asset Acquisition Council. And BLAC is still, they're operating. They took it and they ran with it, and they're meeting every day on WhatsApp and talking back and forth. So will there ever be a seminar in Atlanta? We just did one in Atlanta last week, Alicia. I can't believe you missed it, because every time I'm on, I always announce everything I'm doing. But yeah, we were just in Atlanta last week, and Atlanta was the same way. I've done this seminar so far in Chicago, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, London, and Atlanta. And in every city, the results were basically the same. Every city, it was the same kind of people. And it was a different level, a different vibe, right? So ultimately, I would say networking is probably one of the most important things you can do as a business owner. Make friends and connect with people that think on your level. And remember that in many of these situations, you're going to have to pay money to be in the room. The good shit ain't free. Excuse my French. The good stuff is usually not free. It's just not. Like you went to college. Some of y'all went to college for 4 years. That wasn't free. Right? But if you make it work right, and if it didn't cost so much, it would be worth it. Like if college were like some reasonable amount, like $30,000, $40,000, it'd be a no-brainer. It's worth it just to be in the room with people that are operating on a certain level, right? So the same thing is true when it comes to investing. Most of the people that you can get the best advice from, their time is not going to be free because they're busy making money. Most of the people that you want in your investment club, who are going to actually bring real money and put it on the table and really financially back their ideas and all this other stuff, these are people that they don't waste time, right? So you want to be around people that don't spend your time with people who don't waste time. And I guarantee that'll make a big difference for you. There's only certain people I deal with. I don't deal with everybody that comes along, because my life is short, right? So I'm just telling you from experience, and also from these events, that's what I've noticed is the best quality of these gatherings, is the ability to be in the room with people who literally right there on the spot can sit with you and come up with a business idea that could generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in a year. I've seen that happen. When you bring together educated people that have skill and talent and everything else, not just money that they'll put into things that they're doing, but also just talent. Like somebody will say, oh, I know real estate. I know where all the foreclosed properties are. We can buy them cheap. And then somebody else says, oh, well, I'm a lawyer. I can draw up the contracts. And the other person says, oh, I'm a CPA. I can keep track of the finances. Then boom, you've got an LLC right there that could generate, a lot of money, right? That's how people quit their jobs. The way people quit their jobs is they find some other way to make money that doesn't involve having to go to work for a white man. When you do it by yourself, you need a job, because it's hard to be a CPA and a lawyer and a real estate agent all wrapped up in one. That's very difficult to do. But if you're in a group of other intelligent, like-minded Black people, it's very easy to create $1 million company in a few minutes. It's not that hard to do. All you got to do is figure out where the opportunities are and where to put your capital, so your capital will naturally grow, right? So just keep that in mind. That's just my thought. Do I have any recommendations for Black investment groups? Well, we do have the Black Real Estate Group, which is the blackreigroup.com. That's in the Black Business School, theblackreigroup.com. Chanel, actually, who's in here, is an enrollment specialist. She could probably talk to you about it as well. So if you go to theblackreigroup.com, that's a program that's run by Julian Gordon. They have a monthly membership fee. But Julian is an expert at managing real estate and properties and all that. He manages millions of dollars in real estate property, so he can actually get you started there. So feel free to go to theblackreigroup.com. We also have the group in London, BLAAC, the Black London Asset Acquisition Council, but I don't think they're taking any more members. We're going to start other groups in other cities, but I just wanted to try it out in London first to see how it goes, and it's going pretty well. So we'll probably try to do something that we're going to roll out in different cities across the country. All right, so let's see. Derek Jackson says, when will we be able to have our own bank to lend for mortgages, auto, personal loans, and small businesses? Well, I think we already have banks. I think that there's that one bank, United something, One United Bank, or United One, or something United, something. The word United is in there. But just because the bank is Black doesn't mean they're going to loan you the money that you need. Actually borrowing money is not as hard as you think if you know where to go. One thing that Julian Gordon does very well in the Black REI group is, he's really good at helping people find lending options when your credit score is absolute garbage, right? So don't think you have to have great credit to get a loan. You just don't. One United Bank, thank you. I'll also say this too, when you're starting a business. Okay, so you talk about auto loans and stuff like that. Auto loans are the easiest thing in the world to get. They definitely want you buying cars, but I don't suggest taking out big auto loans. I'm just not a big fan of that, because that's a depreciating asset, right? But when you talk about home, loans for real estate, I think that's a good move. I think you just want to make sure you're educated before you jump in. Like, don't just jump in not knowing what you're doing. Jump in with somebody who knows what they're doing, so they can advise you along the way. I think loans for a small business, you have to be very careful with. I wouldn't borrow a lot of money for a business idea. I'm not a fan of that, because an idea doesn't mean shit. Excuse my French. Ideas mean almost nothing until they're executed and they've proven that they actually work. I can't tell you how many times I've had what seemed like a great idea and sat and talked to people about it and said, oh, this will be awesome. And then we tried it and it did not work out. You do not know until you know. And the only way you know is if you've done it. When you do it and it works, then you can say, okay, this thing has worked. We made $10,000 from this. Now we're going to go borrow money because we believe we can make $50,000 from this. But do not go and borrow a bunch of money just based on an idea. Let me tell you a mistake Silicon Valley makes. One mistake that Silicon Valley makes is there's a lot of waste, because for white people, capital is so cheap and so readily available that they just waste money. They put millions of dollars behind these companies that are losing money like insane, like almost like the biggest oil spills you've ever imagined. Like when tankers spill in the Gulf region and it's like so much oil that it's like flooding the entire Gulf. Like it's kind of like that. Like companies like WeWork is losing $219,000 an hour. Uber is losing $5 billion a quarter, which is about $1.25 billion a month, right? So, or let's see, what would that be per day? That's about is that $40 million a day? Is that right? About $40 million a day, which it's crazy, right? And I believe that part of the reason that you have these issues is that they throw so much money around and they put so much money behind undeveloped, untested ideas, unprofitable ideas, because they're so eager to gain all this market share. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do an Amazon deal. They're trying to get all this market share. And then like, oh, we'll figure out how to make money later. Well, you may never figure out how to make money. You may never figure out how to become profitable. And so, at the end of the day, it's kind of a risky model, because you have the free cash flow problem, because free cash flow theory basically says that when you give the CEOs of a company or the managers of a company too much free money that's just going to sit around and do nothing, they're going to waste it. They're going to waste it. They're going to, they're going to just, take the money and they're going to get private jets and they're going to live it up and they're going to pay themselves well. That's why, people like the CEO of WeWork, it doesn't bother him that they're losing $219,000 an hour because he's living good. He's able to get, he's paid. I'm sure he's getting a nice salary. He's probably gotten big loans from the company and all kinds of crap. So he doesn't care how much money the company makes because it's not going to affect him. In fact, but that's another reason why you want to understand business and understand LLCs and how all that and S corps and all that, how that stuff works, because you got a lot of people out here that are living very well off of businesses that are not making money. Donald Trump is one of them. Donald Trump is a guy who has lived very well for a very long time off of businesses that haven't made a lot of money. Why? Well, because he's got write-offs and he pays himself big salaries and he can spend corporate money to do all kinds of lavish stuff and just count it as an expense for the company. It'll look like he's not making hardly any income and he's losing money or whatever, when really it's like, how are you losing, $1 billion a year, but you're living better than most people who are losing nothing per year, who are losing $0 a year? Well, because profitability ain't all that it's cracked up to be. Everybody gets caught up in profitability. Some corporations don't even want to be profitable. Some corporations create a foundation just so they can give away all their profits so that they're not profitable at the end of the year. It doesn't mean that you always do it that way. It just means that everything ain't always what it seems. Here's another thing that's really interesting. Julian Gordon made this point. Julian Gordon, who teaches in the Black Business School, he's one of our faculty. Julian made the point that he said, most of you have no income. And I was like, really? And I was like, explain that. That's an interesting thought. And he said, well, most people don't have any income. He said, because for a corporation, they define income as revenue minus expenses, right? Money you make minus what you spend for your expenses. Most people either spend up all their money on their expenses or they run a deficit where they're spending more than they're making, right? You're living off the credit card or whatever, right? So he said, you have no income. All the money you make is going right out the door. So you have no income. You're just like a hamster running in a wheel, and you're running really hard and you're running in place and you're just running fast, because if you stop running, then you're going to go backwards. So you got to just run just to stay in place so you don't go backwards at all, right? So ultimately, and Rebecca's in here. Rebecca is the CEO of Pythagoras LLC, which is pythagoras.com. Pythagoras LLC is a great accounting firm out of DC. And she's saying right there in the chat, she's saying that that's very true. A lot of companies spend money to avoid federal taxes. And they carry net operating losses, which have no taxes, right? So it's a game that they play, so when the Democrats were saying, when they're talking about Trump and they're like, oh, Trump, his businesses weren't profitable, blah, blah, blah. I instantly knew that the people saying this were people who never ran a business. Seriously, because business owners are like, yeah, being profitable is kind of important, but it's kind of like maybe the fourth or fifth most important thing about that matters. Cash flow probably matters more than profitability. I remember when I was studying finance all those years, I remember that there was an obsession with cash flow over profitability when it came to kind of measuring the quality of a company. Like, do you have enough cash to be liquid and to continue to operate and function so that you can control this big ship and maintain, ownership of this ship, right? This big Death Star that you're trying to control. If you run out of cash, you're in trouble. If you don't have cash flow, even if it ain't your cash, if you don't have cash flow, then you're done. In fact, more companies die from a lack of liquidity and a lack of cash flow than actually die from a lack of profitability. Did you know that there are lots of profitable companies that die? Sometimes they die because they're choking on their own profitability. They're too profitable. So you're selling clothes, and suddenly you're like Nipsey Hussle, the marathon store, and you get $10 million in orders, which means now you got to go out and get $10 million worth of product, and you don't have the cash for that. Maybe you don't got the bank loans for that, right? Or whatever. I'm not saying that that's what happened to them, but I'm saying that that's suddenly a huge cash flow requirement on your company. You got to go out and find the financing to maintain your growth. So there are some companies that deliberately slow down their growth so that they don't run out of cash. So like, God, if we keep, it's like a growing child. Like when your child's growing too fast, you got to keep feeding the baby. You're like, oh my God, this baby's growing so fast, we don't have enough food in the house. Well, same thing can happen with a company. So I encourage you, for the most part, to go and make sure, and I say this, if you listen to me a lot, I probably sound like a broken record, but that's good for you, because I want it to sink in. In order for a culture to be shifted, we got to repeat the important things to ourselves over and over and over every day. But for those of you who don't watch me enough, I want to say this: make 100% sure that your children are educated on the fundamentals of business at an early age. Make sure they're educated on little basic things like how people really make money in America. People do not make money in America through labor most of the time. They make their money through systems and businesses and investments. That's how people make really large amounts of money. Most of the people I know who become really rich are not people who worked a job really hard and saved their way to wealth. It's almost impossible to do that. It's like trying to say I got from New York to California by walking. No, most people get from New York to California, they took an airplane, or they at least rode the bus or had a car. They did not walk. At best they rode a bike, but most of them can't say I walked from New York to California. It's not possible, right? So it's hard to walk your way to wealth, which is basically what savings is. Saving is like walking your way to wealth. You have to have an accelerator. You have to have an accelerator process, something that accelerates the growth of your capital base and something that accelerates the growth of your income. The things that accelerate the growth of your capital base are things like investing, whether you're investing in stocks and bonds, investing in real estate, or investing in entrepreneurship of some sort of entrepreneurial venture, either as an active entrepreneur or as a passive investor. Those are the accelerators of capital base, and also those are accelerators of income. Actually, entrepreneurship is the best income accelerator I've ever seen. So if I'm talking to a young kid and the kid says, hey, Dr. Boyce, I want to be a millionaire when I grow up. How do I become a millionaire? Do I become a football or basketball player? No, because 99.9% of you will never make it. It doesn't mean you can't play football, but that's a game that's probably going to end when you're not a kid anymore. Well, do I go and do I get a good job and work really hard and save my money? No, that's probably not going to work because you can't save your way to wealth. Do I go to college and get a degree and get a great job with a college degree? No, not really. That may not be the best path, because that college degree is only going to give you so much opportunity, and they're going to kind of hamstring you because you're going to be dependent on the economic system to give you the little bit that you have. Plus, you're going to be set back a couple of generations because of how much debt they're going to put you under. They're going to put you under so much debt if you're not careful that literally you won't pay that off before you're dead. So it does not mean that you don't do it. It just means you got to be really careful, and you have to supplement that. So what I would probably say to that kid is, first thing I want you to do is this: forget college, forget all this extra stuff, forget all these special information you need to know. Learn the basics of how money is made. Learn basic things like buy low. I would do like a Mr. Miyagi on him. Remember when Mr. Miyagi, anybody watched The Karate Kid and he wanted to learn all these fancy karate moves? And Mr. Miyagi was like, here, wax this car. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Right? Or in the second Karate Kid, when he had him put his coat on the hanger and take it off and put it on, and put it on the hanger and take it off and put it on. And he's like, what is this? Like, I'm just repeating myself. Why am I doing the same thing over and over again? It's because Mr. Miyagi was helping him understand that everything that's complex starts with the basics. Everything that's complex starts with the basics. So what I would probably do with the kid is I'd help them understand, okay, here's the first concept of making money. Buy low, sell high. Get something that people need and sell it for more than what you bought it for. That doesn't require you to go to Harvard Business School. It doesn't require you to have an MBA. It doesn't require you to have 20 years of experience in business. It just requires you to know something that a 5-year-old can understand. I bought the cookies for $4 for a whole bag, and I can sell the cookies for $1 a piece and sell the bag for $40, right? I saw a little kid do this. That's why I'm using that example, right? So buy low, sell high. So I'm making 40 minus 4 on every bag of cookies, $36 per bag. So now all I have to do is find people who like cookies, and you can become a millionaire from that. Most people that become millionaires, they become millionaires on very basic, simple ideas, and it's just rinse and repeat, buy low, sell high, rinse and repeat. I would also teach them other little things like how to spot a customer. Look, all the money that you want, all the money that you need right now to quit your job tomorrow is out there. It's all around you. The problem is that the money is in other people's pockets. So you could get the money by robbing them, which I assume none of you would do this, right? You wouldn't rob anybody, hit them over the head and steal their money. You could swindle them out of their money, which I wouldn't suggest either, because that's illegal and unethical. Or you could say, what do you need? Like, what are you looking for? What do you spend money on? What can I help you with? Oh, you need your grass cut. Okay, I'll cut your grass. It'll cost X amount of dollars, right? I saw some kids in Chicago that did that, where we were shoveling our car out of the driveway, and it was really cold, a lot of snow had hit the ground, and these two 12-year-old boys, all they did was they walked down the street and they saw all the people trying to get their car out of the parking spot because there was so much snow, and they would walk up and they say, I'll take care of that for you for $10. I gave them 20 because I didn't want to shovel nothing. I got to sit in the warm car with the heater on while these young boys shoveled me out of the snow. Since they were young brothers, I gave them double. I said, good for you. $10 is for doing the job. $20 is for being smart, right? And then they went to the next person and the next person and the next person. They saw a need and they fulfilled that need. That's business school 101. The rest is like the technicalities, right? But you can get people that can manage that. Like people like Rebecca Samuels, from Pythagoras LLC, who's in the chat. Rebecca can handle your accounting. She just needs, if you give her something to count, she can count your money. But the entrepreneur is the one who figures out where the money is, how to fill the need, and how to collect that money. And then the accountant and the lawyer and all these other people come in after that. You can hire consultants that can run the organization, but those people, the most valuable people in business, the most valuable people for you to ever work with, the most valuable person you can ever become, the most valuable thing you can make your child into, in my opinion, is an absolute rainmaker. Like if your child knows how to go into a situation and figure out what people need and how to get it for them, that child will never be broke. That child will be an absolute millionaire or close to it. They will never have a financial problem unless they create one for themselves and get sloppy or something. But for the most part, they're never going to be caught in this weird struggle where people are starving to death because a white man won't give them a job, right? Jobs, honestly, people that have to seek jobs are people that don't know how to make their own money. And if you look in our community, how much conversation do you see people having about how you as an independent African American can make money without going to look for a job from white people? You were trained to do this, and this training has been very bad for you. It has made you sick. It has destroyed you economically. It has killed your wealth. You're giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars in your family wealth to white universities to teach you how to avoid economic starvation, when the reality is that the solutions are right there inside your soul, inside your community. Right. So I would say if I had a child, that's what I'd train them on. I would train them on those basic things. And then it's like, yeah, okay, now that you know the important stuff, son or daughter, whichever one, right? Now go do whatever you want. You want to go law school, medical school, college, I don't care. Whatever you want to do, like that all that stuff secondary. I just need you to know how to make money so you can provide for your family. And so you're not out here, doing ridiculous things to get money. Because in fact, that's what happens when you don't know how to make your own money. You become a slave to those who do know how to make money. That's the way capitalism works. So, I talked to a young guy in Chicago on the South Side who told me, he said, a lot of young guys, we need to hear, we listen to what you have to say because a lot of us do dumb things to get money because we don't know how to make it. Right. And so I think that if you learn how to make it, then you don't have to do dumb things to get it. It's like food. Like I don't know how to cook. Alicia does all the cooking. I don't know if that sounds sexist to people or not, but I don't care. She's old fashioned. I'm old fashioned. She likes to cook. I let her do it because she's better at it than I am. But here's the thing. When she ain't here to cook for me, I end up doing things I would not normally do in order to get food. Right. I don't have to go, sell my body or anything, but that's when I end up calling Domino's Pizza to deliver a pizza, or that's when I go in there and I'll burn something in the microwave or whatever, or I'll eat some frozen food or something, or I'll look in a refrigerator full of food that's uncooked and I'll say, gosh, there's nothing to eat. Right? Why? Well, because I don't know how to cook. Right? But she comes in that same refrigerator, opens that same pantry, and it's like, what are you talking about, Boyce? Oh, I can whip up some of this and whip up some of that, and I can get some tomatoes, and we got carrots, and we got this and that. And next thing you know, she's made this masterpiece of a meal for me that I never could have made on my own because I never learned how to cook. So the reason that you starve economically as a community is because most of your people do not know how to cook. They've never learned how to make money without eating the white man's meal. And the white man is serving you a big bowl of shit every day. And you're complaining because the food doesn't taste very good, when the reality is that you need more chefs in your community that can actually go out and make money. So again, the master plan for Black people, share this with other people. If you get a chance, share this video, please share it. But the master plan for Black people in the 21st century is not just going out and begging for white dollars. You can do that if you want to, that's fine. But I think the low-hanging fruit is the simple redirect of black dollars. That means creating more producers, more owners, and more entrepreneurs who can offer the services that black people typically get from white folks, and then convincing those consumers to go, instead of spending their money with everyone else, spend their money with the black business owners who are hiring black people and putting money right back into the black community. So the Black Business School is part of that journey. And you know, we're trying to replace your university. We're replacing USC, you know, that doesn't hire black people. We're replacing UCLA for you, or supplementing, you know, Yale University. Maybe you still want to go to Yale because you want to be a nurse. We don't train people on how to be nurses or lawyers and all that, but we could teach you how to make money as an independent black entrepreneur. And that's something that they're never going to be able to teach you very well, because they don't understand the journey of a black man or a black woman in America, and neither do they care. So so there you go. That's my 2 cents for today. That's what I wanted to lecture on today. I'm going to go because, as you know, Alicia and I are training for this marathon. We're getting ready for 2 marathons. One is the Chicago Marathon in October. And by the way, I'm going to raise money. I'm actually raising money for the domestic violence shelter in Inglewood that I told you guys about. I'm a big believer in fighting against domestic violence. I've had some friends that have been killed in domestic situations, and so it's real personal for me. So I'll let you guys know about it, and I hope that you guys will be willing to, support. They're doing some really good work, and we're really helping some families down in that community. And then the second marathon we're getting ready for is the Marathon of Life, because as you guys might know, I proposed to her this week, and if you want to go take a look at the proposal, I embarrassed myself, and we videotaped it, and I'm all teary-eyed and everything, because I'm gonna tell you that black woman just makes me want to cry, because I just love her so much, and I'm so honored to have an opportunity to share life with her. So you can feel free to take a look at that. So those are 2 marathons that we're about to start now, and it can't stop, won't stop. Last but not least, if you haven't taken a look at some of the other programs in the Black Business School and you have any questions, you can do one of 2 things. Either go to theblackbusinessschool.com and talk to an enrollment specialist. I saw Chanel in the chat. She can help you right now, and they can talk to you on the phone, on video chat, whatever you want to help you figure out what works best for your family. Second of all, you can email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. So we love to make deals. Let's make a deal. If you want to do another program and your budget's a little bit tight, let's make a deal. Talk to our people. They're licensed to go ahead and give you a break to fit it within your budget. They will not leave you in debt, and you will be left happy. Why? Well, because if you're not happy, we will give you your money back. So feel free to go check that out. Last but not least, in terms of where I'm going to be, in Louisville, Kentucky on the 14th. That's drboycelouisville.com. I'll be in New York on October 27th. That's drboycenewyork.com. The All Black National Convention, September 27th. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, lastly, if you want to take a look at our financial workbooks and flashcards for kids, feel free to go to financialworkbooks.com. We have bundle packs right there where you can create a business school right there in your house. So go to financialworkbooks.com. Do we have any groups in Atlanta, Jazz? Not yet. We're going to establish something, but for right now, the Black REI group is our main investment group that we have in the Black Business School. So you can check that out. Just talk to our enrollment specialist when you go to the blackbusinessschool.com, and Chanel can kind of guide you to the Black REI group and even give you a big discount on enrollment if they have spaces left. I don't know how many people Julian's accepted in the program, but feel free to go check that out. All right, guys. I'm gone, about to go do this run. So it's great talking to you, and I will be back very, very soon. And yeah, so this was fun. This was real. Take care. Have a good night. See you soon. Bye-bye.